before it goes down in. Then the pleural cavity is the airtight compartment that makes sure that the air that goes in is not losing. Like it was analyzed in that experiment showing the bell jar, making it tight that air does not go out. So the pleural cavity is the airtight compartment that is in the mammalian lung. That is option A. The pleural cavity is the airtight compartment in the mammalian lung. So the mammalian lung is made tight by the pleural cavity. The next question. A test tube containing yeast in glucose solution was suspended in a covered conical flask containing alkaline progalol. The bubbles of carbon 4 oxide produced indicate that the yeast cells are A. respiring in the absence of oxygen, B. liberating oxygen on their own, C. living and consuming oxygen, D. being killed by the alcohol produced. Yeast in glucose solution. That is just describing for you anaerobic respiration. They now say the bubbles of carbon 4 oxide produced indicate that the yeast cells are what? You know, in anaerobic respiration, there is no oxygen involved. Now, yeast will not liberate oxygen, it is not consuming oxygen, so it is respiring in the absence of oxygen, and it will produce from the question, one of the questions we have treated earlier, it will produce carbon 4 oxide and alcohol. So the bubbles of the carbon 4 oxide produced indicate that the yeast cells are respiring in the absence of oxygen. That's option A. Another question that is just related to that one. Yeast respires anaerobically to convert simple sugar to carbon 4 oxide and what? A. alcohol, B. acid, C. oxygen, D. water. The answer is alcohol. I just said that in the last question, that yeast respire anaerobically to convert simple sugar to carbon 4 oxide and alcohol. The next question says, the sheet of muscle that separates the thoracic cavity and the abdominal cavity is the what? Now, it's talking about the respiratory system, then in relation to the other parts of the body. A. diaphragm, B. intercostal muscle, C. the pleural membrane, D. the pericardium. The answer is the diaphragm. The diaphragm is the one that terminates the respiratory system out just before the pleural cavity. The pleural membrane is internal to the pleural cavity, so the diaphragm is the one that separates. That's the sheet of muscle. That's the one that was represented by that rubber sheet in the glass jar experiment. The next question says, the process of transforming the chemical energy of cellular fuels into high energy bonds of ATP in plants is what? A. photolysis, B. respiration, C. autotrophism, D. photosynthesis. When there is the chemical breakdown of energy into higher energy of ATP, when energy is being broken down for a greater energy for the organism to use, that is respiration. That is just respiration. When chemical energy or cellular for that is also option B. Anaerobic respiration differs from aerobic respiration by the production of what? A. less amounts of energy and water, B. greater amounts of energy and alcohol, C. less amounts of energy and alcohol, D. greater amounts of energy and water. Anaerobic respiration, there is the amount of energy and alcohol that is produced is reduced when you compare it to what we have in aerobic respiration. It is reduced because oxygen is not involved. So that is option C. Less amounts of energy and alcohol is produced in anaerobic respiration when you compare it to what we have in aerobic respiration. The next question, stomata pores open when there is an increase in the sugar content of the gas cell, a decrease in the osmotic concentration of that cell, a decrease in the sugar content of mesophyll cell, an increase in the sugar content of mesophyll cell. I said the stomata pore will open when there is an increase in the sugar content. When there is an increase in the sugar content of the cell, that is when there will be opening. But it will close when there is a decrease, that there is shortage. So there is no need for wastage or allowing some to be escaping. It's not actually wasted, but it will have to conserve it when there is decrease or shortage in the sugar content of the gas cell. So that is giving us the option A. An increase in the sugar content of the gas cell will make the stomata pore to open. Option A. Then which of the following movements occur during exhalation? Which of the following movements occur during exhalation? That is when there is breathing out. What happens? A. The diaphragm and intercostal muscles relax. B. The thoracic cavity increases in volume. C. The diaphragm and intercostal muscles contract. D. The diaphragm contracts and the intercostal muscles relax. When there is breathing out, exhalation, there is the relaxation of the diaphragm, of the intercostal muscle. Then the thoracic cavity will reduce in volume. You know, the air that was taken in is now being taken, is going out. There is air going out. So there is reduction in the volume of the thoracic cavity. So that knocks out option B. Then the diaphragm is relaxed. Unlike when you breathe, you discover that the thoracic cavity, the diaphragm and the intercostal muscle, they contract when there is inhalation. When you take some air in, everything is contracting. But when the air is going out, the volume of the thoracic cavity reduces, then the diaphragm and intercostal muscle relax. So that is option A, diaphragm and intercostal muscle relax. In wooden stems, gaseous exchange takes place through A. the microphyles, B. the stomata, C. the lenticels, D. the vessels. In plants, gaseous exchange occurs in the stomata of the leaves and then in the lenticels of the stem. But now, looking at these various options, so that has ruled out microphyles and vessels. So we have stomata and lenticels. But in woody plants, in higher plants, gaseous exchange don't take place so much in their stomata. It's in the lenticels that you have stomata. So gaseous exchange will occur in the stomata of the leaf, then in the stem, it is in the lenticels. Now, but in woody stems now, the answer is still lenticels. So the answer is C. Lenticels is found in the stem of the plants. So in woody stems, gaseous exchange takes place through the lenticels, not the stomata. Stomata is in the leaf, but in stem, when you extend them, you go for lenticels. The next question. The enzymes of the glycolytic pathway are located in the A. the mitochondria, B. the gastric juice, C. the plasma, D. the cytoplasm. The glycolytic pathway, the first step in the breaking down of sugar. You have the sugar, splitting of sugar, glycolysis. So it occurs in the cytoplasm. It occurs in the cytoplasm. That is anaerobic respiration. But aerobic respiration, it will be in mitochondria. But for this one, it is in the cytoplasm. The enzymes of the glycolytic pathway are located in the cytoplasm. Then the last question that we'll be considering under this respiration says the formation of water in the tissue respiration results from the A. breakdown of water molecules, B. reduction of oxygen by hydrogen, C. reduction of carbon 4 oxide, D. combination of water molecules. Formation of water molecules results from the not combination of water molecules. So that rules out option D. Not reduction of carbon 4 oxide, but it is as a result of the reduction of oxygen by hydrogen, or chemistry, oxidation and reduction. When hydrogen when oxygen is reduced by hydrogen, then water will be formed in tissue respiration. Excretion. And excretion is the removal of metabolic wastes from the body, those wastes that can be toxic and harmful to the body. The process of the removal is what is known as excretion. Now, we'll be looking at various questions under excretion. First is this: the nitrogenous substance that is excreted by birds in order to conserve water is A. Ammonia, B. Urea, C. Uric acid, D. Nitric acid. Birds excrete uric acid. That is is solid, so they conserve the water in their body. Not only birds, even insects. Some insects that don't drink water, they excrete uric acid so that they can conserve water in their body. So the answer to that question is option C, uric acid. The liver produces urea, but birds excrete uric acid to conserve water. The next question: in mammals, the exchange of nutrients and metabolic products occurs in the A. the lymph, B. the lungs, C. the heart, D. the liver. The lymph is the one that is responsible. It is at the lymph that you have exchange of nutrients and metabolic products. The lungs is majorly concerned with respiration, inhalation, exhalation, like we talked about in respiration. The heart deals with the pumping of blood.